let's wrap all those questions up, Vince. Via Sistina, Sir Delius, Antino, what did we learn from the Turnbull?
Well, the first thing is, if Via Sistina met these horses again and they ran with a more orderly speed, there's no question those two horses cannot finish in front of it at all. Not even maybe.
Ready, set and racing, and Via Sistina jumped away pretty well. Treasure the Moment over on the far side, beat them out from the... 200 metres to go, a length and a quarter in front. Via Sistina and Buckaroo wearing her down at the 100. Treasure the Moment, Via Sistina and Buckaroo. Via Sistina left in, the Brownbell Valley's rocket, and Via Sistina's done it. Via Sistina, one more length of the feedback.
And now on PG Podcast Network, it's time for the year-round carnival with Vince Accardi and your host, Racetrack Ralphie.
Yes, we're saying goodbye one last time to Moody Valley. Bit of Cold Chisel, bit of Matt Hill's brilliant call of the Cox Plate, and talking of brilliance, Via Sistina making it 2 in a row in completely contrasting style to last year's domination. But of course, J-Mac and Chris Waller nailed the brief as well. To pull it all apart, Vince Accardi from Daily Sectionals. Good morning, mate.
Hey, good morning, Ralphie. That's it. Is that the end of Moonee Valley forever, or we'll see it in 27? Is that right?
That's the end of that track forever. They're reconfiguring it, and it'll look nothing like it did. So we'll leave the politics to elsewhere. But the reality was a worthy dual winner. You don't win that race twice without being an absolute champion, and that's what she now is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very much so. Is the horse going to still race, Ralphie, or are they going to retire it?
Yeah, it's. I don't think anything definitive's been made. Here's what I want to put to you, Vince, off the top, compared to doing a profile of last year. Is there a chance, given the two Flemington runs were a dawdle, and last year after that obliteration in the Cox Plate, Chris Waller backed her up 2 weeks later at Flemington, that she's still coming to her peak?
Well, that would be a big probability. Big probability.
So give us some insights via the numbers on what she was doing at Flemington, because I played that little grab that we sent to our Group 1 members after the Turnbull that you said there's absolutely no chance that, okay, now we'll never know if Sir Delius was scratched, but Antino could turn the tables on her in the Cox Plate, and you were very, very bullish leading out to it, and she delivered narrowly, but I can't help thinking two very important points. That Flemington lead-ins were so slow, but then also, if you look at Buckaroo and Treasure the Moment, they came through, even though it was a small field, a decent race pace at Caulfield behind Globe, whereas they didn't have to improve their speed early a lot. She did.
Yeah, that's spot on, Ralphie. This is exactly the situation. The first time Via Sistina for the prep came into a speed race. You're right. First up, 20.7 lengths below benchmark first section. Second up, 27 lengths below benchmark first section. Third up, 16.7 lengths below benchmark, and then 2.7 below on the weekend. So massive turnaround. Even in the mid-race, Ralphie, that was like right up there. Not in terms of squeezes, but in terms of how far above the benchmark. 4.7 above versus +6, the start before. And then, yes, you could see that same performance wasn't there in the last 400 metres. And this has all got to do with, obviously, race shape. 3.9 above versus 5.8 above the start before. You're right, Ralphie. That run would now take the horse to its top.
I hope they run her at Flemington last day, because they actually might bet a price. Who knows what she'll be up against? Whereas, Buckaroo, probably for him, that's as good as he can go, isn't it? And he of course, went super, 3.4 lengths above benchmark.
Yeah. I had a feeling this race most likely was going to run around that 4 lengths above benchmark type profile. But Buckaroo, 3.4 lengths above, the horse ran superbly. PB, it's the day you want it to peak, Ralphie. And you're right, though. When you look at the setup for this horse each run, there was that chance that last start leading into the Cox Plate, there was a little bit of flatness there from the previous run. And the horse had pretty much, I won't say like the perfect run in the race, but certainly had the opportunity. You can just see the blending of the data that it was almost near perfect, the distribution of energy from start to finish, especially those micro splits, peaking at its speed at between the 6 and the 400. Slight blemish between the 4 and the 2, and then, maintain that run to the line. Very good, very good. I had a feeling Buckaroo would run really well, Ralphie. I'm glad we sort of did write about it. And the others didn't surprise me that they didn't perform to the levels. And from a Cox Plate point of view, we don't often see final performances, 3.5, 4 lengths above benchmark. They're usually, like a low point, usually for most Cox Plates is plus 6, 7 or higher.
And a part of that reason is usually there's a speed of about plus 8 is not unusual. Of course,
Yep.
prior to Jenny was the insane outlier last year, as was the Cleaner a decade earlier. The Cleaner set up Winx's amazing first win. Prior to Jenny set up Via Sistina's amazing first win. But it was a bit of a headache on our Friday podcast for you, just trying to say what type of speed would go. But in the end, 1 length above benchmark for a small field and no natural leader, I think it was quite a fair pace.
Ralphie, it 100% gave horses like Treasure of the Moment, Attrition, even the others, right? I mean, I know there might have been issues with some others, but the reality is, even for all the others, this was like the golden race shape for those horses. That's the race shape you want. If you could go out and run even speed, you're going to be given every opportunity if you get to split at the right time.
I mentioned Via Sistina might be coming to its peak. Maybe that's the case with Treasure in the Moment too. I thought a fantastic training performance by Matt Laurie in that. The horse was so brilliant first up in the Memsey, but then having that colic setback, not ideal. Missing 4 weeks, not ideal. And then when missing 2 weeks and missing the Mackaybe, then having to have not just 4 weeks between the runs, but then chasing Pride of Jenny in your return. So it wasn't the ideal preparation for it. And she's run superbly, but maybe she too has another level to go.
Well, I am really happy to see that performance of plus 2.3, Ralphie. Firstly, in terms of a 2,000 metre or longer distance, it smashed its previous performance, which is fantastic, and it set a new benchmark performance for itself, like 2.3 above, compared to that first up run at 1,400 plus 2, which I really did feel the horse could have gone through the stratosphere, but obviously things didn't go right with the horse. And now I reckon they do have it back on track, Ralphie. Are we going to see any more this time in? So you got to look at that last 200 metres, Ralphie. That's like a very important signal. It can be a signal of 2 things. Number 1, you're done because you peaked, or your initial point that this horse could also still improve. So it depends on which way you're going to look at it. It could be that horse has still got another couple of lengths to come. At some stage, we're going to hopefully see that. Whether it's this campaign or not, we're going to see it.
And just to round off, Aliana, it was obviously a nightmare watch for punters. Channel 7 put out an overhead chopper shot maybe yesterday. That's certainly when I saw it. And I think it gave clarity to Hugh Bowman's ride. And in that, I genuinely don't think he could have done any more and from that overhead chopper shot. But clearly, wherever she could have come, you don't want to, we always say, don't put imaginary links on horses. But whatever should have happened, it should have been closer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Realistically, if we're just looking at the broad brush of the intel and using that spectrum as our guide, you can confidently say add 2 lengths. Because you peaked at the 6 of the 4, in terms of momentum, going 2.2 above. Now, mind you, you do have to look at that midline run, plus 4. That's that second split time. That's close to the horse's top. So there's not going to be any illusions that horse would have had a sweeping more. It's just over the last little bit of the race where we can add the 2 lengths. Now, if we do that, I can tell you now, Ralphie, the horse would absolutely not win. At best, run a place. At best. It's still, I know it looks like, oh my goodness. No. This horse needs another campaign. I really felt, I got a good chat with one of the boys on the Friday and put the case up, and hence the reason why we sort of put it back in the 4, because I had to, give a bit of respect that the horse could take that next step. But this horse never really was better than Via Sistina, and I just feel it's another season away before it comes to where it needs to go to in terms of level, and it's definitely not as good as Autumn Glow at the moment. Definitely not.
It's funny, and that's pretty much what Chris Waller's been communicating. And
yep.
I think I always say trainer's intent. So when it comes to the geniuses at the top, and there aren't many of them, and certainly Waller's now in that stratosphere of the all-time greats, you should always ask yourself, why are they doing this? Because, you could say, why did Chris Waller avoid the Caulfield Cup with Buckaroo? Well, there it was in the race. Nearly knocking off Via Sistina. And in the case of Aliana, why didn't he run her in the Caulfield Cup? I heard a few people asking because she was so dominant in the Derby. Well, if he thinks she's a prep away, or maybe 2 preps away, this was the hardening up run for the Cox Plate, but not busting her by potentially, and look how brutal that Caulfield Cup was, maybe she could have been finished forever if she was on pace in that race. Whereas now he's got a happy horse. Yeah, she didn't have any luck on Saturday, but he's going to keep building with her, and if she wins next year's Cox Plate, it'll be no surprise.
Yeah, well, the beauty, you're right, Ralphie. There's no question that we're going to see a far superior version to what we already have seen with Aliana, because I get it. There are certain sections under specific scenarios. This horse has got some stunning capability, like absolutely giving you the shining light that we're heading towards elite racehorse. But you've got to grow and mature and get that strength in you, and that's what's been missing. Just that, and that makes a difference of a couple of lengths. Like to be just like that, I don't know, I'm not going to say superstar, but top level.
Antino clearly wasn't right, but just on the numbers, and there was by the way, there was nothing in the report, but on the numbers, he's done the biggest mid-race squeeze, but the difference being that, 2 differences. One, he had a prep through the winter in Queensland and had gone overseas, so he didn't have that full big break and sole focus that Chris Waller was able to do with Via Sistina. And the other thing is too, it's a good example that he also had to significantly improve his early speed, which gassed him out, whereas Via Sistina was able to.
Well, this is what I love about what you said before. Is if there was just that chance that Antino and Via Sistina met at the end at Flemington, that would be exciting. Because we'd see a real race.
What do you think? This could have been a flat run from Antino?
Yeah. I mean, the horse just didn't flare up. Like, it didn't show its capacity. I mean, if we compare it, Ralphie, to Doomben, like what it did there back in May versus here, even in the mid-race, like that horse, that's not even in its top half of its mid-race. Like, its mid-race top ends around 8.7. Its average, right, is probably bang on what it done here. There's no way we've seen the top of this. And yeah, look, you have a look at this horse really carefully. 2 big runs, 2 big squeezes. 29.5 mid-race squeeze at Flemington in September. 19.7 4th of October. Again, slow pace. Was it a slightly better scenario than Via Sistina for this race? In running, yes. It took it a little bit easier than Via Sistina because it was out the back. But it was all that colourful sign that horse is still feeling the run. And Shin said it. He goes, I didn't have that. Something wasn't right. Didn't show that turn explosion that the horse has. There was nothing there for him. I really feel that franks it. So could Golan do that? Do you think that could happen, Ralphie?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't read up anything
so.
Colin Golan since, but it'll be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of money there to be made if he thinks the horse is okay. So see what happens. He might even bring it back to a mile. So that could be an option for him
right.
too. And I'll just round off. I'm not even going to talk about it much,
Yep.
but just nepotism did run much faster with 7.5 kilos less, did it?
Ralphie, we said it. The horse hadn't even broken benchmark. We I don't know. I don't even know why they ran it. They must have been thinking about things from 20 years ago.
No, I'll tell you why. Because it had 7.5 kilos less. It's suddenly going to find 5 legs.
Right, seven.
That was the thinking.
If you had said to me the horse had been running 50 kilos overweight, over its racing weight, and it got down to its actual racing weight, which is 50 less, we would have seen a different outcome. But not the case here with 7.5 kilos.
All right, there were some big runs apart from that. Now, members have asked about Friday night with Apulia and also one smooth operator, so we'll keep that for the members bonus. If you want to become a Group 1 member, we're not here without our support of our members. We have no corporate bookmaker affiliation. Good luck finding another place like that. And like I said, it's because of our members. So if you want to become a member, get the members bonus podcast, $25 a month, or there's an annual option too. Go to my website, racetrackralphie.com.au, and click through the links there. Let's have a look at Randwick. Vince, the rail's out. Normally, it means slick and it means really on pace. I'm looking at your IVR report, and they were sort of coming down the middle. What happened?
I feel there's a few things. Number one, I was having a good look at this yesterday in the afternoon. A lot of the horses won outside the lanes.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
So this is what happens. You got the rail out 7. Most horses not winning in the lanes. You're naturally going to run a couple of lengths slower. That's the first thing. The second part is, doesn't matter what anyone says, because I also had an email about what they felt the track was like, and my view was just straightforward. This track did not race with the same speed as previous meetings. Not saying that this raced badly. It's far from it. I actually felt in many cases it raced fair. That's keeping it real. But you have an expectation. We've been seeing these, so much speed in the ground, and we've been running genuine good 3. I'm not going to say fast 2, but genuine good 3. And now all of a sudden you're running G4, borderline S5. Of course everything's going to look not as good. But the straight, when the rail's out 7, you've got those few operating lanes. Then you've got to look at the quality of the horses that were running on the day. How much advantage can they take of that? There's a lot of mid-race moves on the race card. Yes, there was some headwind, but nowhere near going to impact overall. And I could see it that realistically, if you look from the 600 to the finish line, this track ran bang on at best G4, and we just got to allow for that little bit of speed lost in the home straight. Like there typically is a lot more speed in the ground, and if the rail was out 3, you would have seen probably 2-3 lengths faster overall performances, and you would say, oh mate, perfect track.
One of the rock stars was Steffi Magnetica. This is what you had to say about her run first up, which was Rosehill, 13th and 9th. She was 6 weeks between runs on Saturday, but this is what you had to say on the Group 1 members bonus. Steffi Magnetica, $5.50 out to $7.50. Ran like it was $5.50 out to $7.50, but good first up for future.
Yeah, had been trialling really good, Ralph. It just way too slow through the first section, 8.4 below. Big move in the middle, just get that battle hardness into the horse. And you could see the tank out was clearly evident over the last 200 metres. The horse dropped almost a length because of the surge.
Well, Vince, this was a classic Sydney trainer setup, I'll call it, because barrier trial in between runs. So 6 weeks, but it became that little half run. There was good money for her throughout the week. There was big money on race day, particularly, I suppose, once it was obvious that, those slingshot runners could be involved. But what a performance, Steffi Magnetica.
Yeah, you and I had a good chat about it on the Friday. I still feel that you're on point, by the way, Ralphie, about like where the horse is going to peak, because this performance here of plus 1.6 really gives you that signal. But just the field composition and what you were going to be up against, I wasn't going to make the same mistake and not keep it hard in the top couple. It just had to be respected because of the field strength. That was the main reason. And then the horses come out. 7.1 lengths below benchmark, first section. That's pretty soft for this horse. If you look at its profile, first section, its average is usually somewhere around the 3.5 lengths below benchmark. So it's cruising. The mid-race, I don't feel the horse can go much slower than that, Ralphie. Didn't break benchmark. And then the finish was plus 3.7, really just franking a few things. Out really wide, not getting any edges in the lanes, probably impacted your last 400, 200 metres by a couple of lengths and was too good. So imagine what this horse is going to do for improvement off this run.
Well, Bjorn Baker said probably the Champions Mile, Flemington,
Right.
Last day of the carnival, taking on Mr.
Awesome.
Brightside, Cielo Wolf, Fangirl. I mean, she has beaten a lot of those in the Doncaster last year. Of course, it was an unusual race shape, but if she's going to peak, well, that's not a bad day to peak.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I guess
Very,
for
very
me,
good.
I wanted to ask you, Ralphie, did you watch Miss Roombones? Because I done my money on that horse, right? So I thought, while we're here, I'd like to talk about what your thoughts were on that.
Well, it was a bit of a coma job early, but I've got to say a bit of both. I mean, like afterwards, Hippo was obviously angry with himself and things didn't unfold in his jockey comments. But I thought, yeah, a horse of that class, though, that could have told the last 100 metres. I reckon by the time they straightened, you didn't want to be on her.
Yeah, 3 wide, no cover all the way. That is true. It does affect you.
Oh no! Like I said, don't get me wrong, but I just
Yeah.
thought even for her class would have taken her further into the race. So I just, to me, it did look like she was on point on the at the time.
Ran
but
flat, didn't it?
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, ultimately I'm with you. Ran flat. Ride no good, 100%. How do you be 3 wide, no cover the trip? Just a joke, I thought, right? No intention to try and change that. So that was the first thing. And then, yeah, the horse was completely missing. So stable certainly didn't do something right. I don't know what that was, right? But it ran absolutely flat in a million miles. Well, almost its worst performance since Pakenham back on the 30th of May last year.
Just look at the steward's report here. Adam Hieronymus reported, although Blight's race 3 wides, the mare always had cover. He said, however, Miss Roombini refused to settle when travelling too keenly. He said, as a result, she didn't finish off. No abnormalities in the steward's report. So,
I don't know about the no cover, Ralphie.
Yeah.
Did you say no cover or cover?
He said no cover, but he also, I saw his jockey's
Yeah, no
interview
cover,
afterwards, and clearly he wasn't real happy with himself. So,
Yeah, I was
and
watching the stewards' reports, yeah.
it's amazing how often you see that what did he do? He won the previous big race, the Spring Champion, which we'll get to shortly. And
Yep.
in the end, they're human. He's probably on top of the world, and it makes it hard to refocus for after winning such a big race for him.
Yep. No, very, very true. I guess that's life, isn't it? Not good for me on a personal level. I have to say I was pretty frustrated
You would have
because
been saying some swears early.
not happy. Wasn't happy in many ways. And
Yes.
anyway, it is what it is. But I was obviously, you do calm down like always. You try and understand like what happened because the expectation was there, and the horse is much better than that, and we didn't get to see it.
No, that's for sure. We saw a terrific race in that previous one. It wasn't hard to identify that Attica and Shangri-La Boy had both impeccable form leading in, but there was going to be a big position in running edge for Shangri-La Boy over Attica, and under that circumstance, all honours Attica. What's the numbers said from this race?
Yeah. Well, I guess 0.6 below benchmark, 10th best of the day. That does frank a few things, right? And New South Wales had some super races, but it just sort of puts everything into perspective. The performances were good, I felt. Nevertheless, 4 lengths below benchmark first section, 0.8 below between the 8 and the 4. The last 400 metres benchmark. The run looked fantastic. Looked like a horse that ran with some staying capability. I have to say that we're probably what is missing because the lanes aren't in operation, Ralph. You lose a couple of lengths, right? So on one aspect, we look at it and say, okay, that's the real horse. On the other aspect, there could have been more. And that probably also goes for the second horse, Ralphie. good speed, 2.3 above compared to the day. That was very good speed. 1.9 below benchmark, and the horse did start to taper from the 400 to the finish line. It was consistent in terms of, it wasn't a massive fall off, but it was there. Probably hardened the horse up further.
Yeah, well, and this is the other thing too, that if the ground plays more typical when the rail's at 7 and firmer that it's been racing, maybe Shangri-La Boy was 8 lengths in front, going another 3 lengths faster, and that would have made it impossible for Attica to catch it. So it makes it hard with a mindset situation, doesn't it?
Correct. Yep.
What do we make of the calendar Presnell as a mile? It was good prize money, but unfortunately the numbers look a bit sad here for old Hope and Rivellino, who didn't have much luck.
Well, sad, but probably in perspectives, with the exception of Hope, who'd come into the race like with figures that were far superior. But the reality is, if you take Rivellino as the real guide and the shining light to know, okay, what's the performance really got to look like? That's probably the answer, Ralphie. From my perspective, I'm just sort of sitting here saying, okay, well, Rivellino, what did you do? You ran 3.2 lengths below benchmark. What did you do the start before that? 3.1 below. And the start before that, 3.1 below. And the start before that, 3.5. So the horse ran to its performance. And the winner, who obviously is a benchmark sort of profile, just did what it needed to win. That's it. And maybe that could have been like the horse might have peaked last start, Ralphie, and now it's just sort of holding it together.
Well, one thing we've learnt with these type of pop-up races, be very careful of looking at the prize money and the so-called class system. Look at the clock, because sometimes the form isn't holding up. So time will tell, as always. Race 6A, let's ask you about, even though it was, there's still a fair truckload given the prize, because it did look like it was picking money up off the ground with Lindemann, $1.50 to $1.30. But here's part of the genius of Nash. Was he going slowly on Lindemann?
Plus 1.8.
He was going as if it was a 15-horse field.
Yeah, and this is interesting. I reckon he was right about, he was mooting the possibility this could have been going to the Cox, going well up for the Cox Plate. Yeah, yep. Horse would have been the money, 100%.
Actually, that's fascinating. So 3.2 in Sydney. What did the Cox Plate do? That's good enough to be absolutely in the finish in Melbourne.
Yeah, and how solid. 1.8 above first section. That's the first time this campaign he's broken benchmark, so he's running at speed. 4.3 above between the 8 and the 4. He was really running this horse like a grand final, keeping pressure, keeping intensity, and making it hard for everyone. I just loved that. Pity I couldn't back it.
Well, in the last race, there was a fair avalanche on Transatlantic, and rightly so, because of its class. But also, I dare say, with Lindemann winning, with Observer winning in Melbourne, with Via Sistina, there would have been 8 million multis going into Transatlantic, and it was not nice and tight. Let me ask you this: how often do you say it? If you want to avoid a flat run, go from a fast race to a slow race. How do you go on Sunday?
Yeah. There it is, travelling 6.1 lengths below benchmark. That's 15 lengths slower than the start before. Gold.
The direct.
Absolute gold. Yep. And even between the 8 and the 4, 4.1 lengths below benchmark. Virtually didn't move on the horse between the 8 and the 4. You couldn't have scripted it any better.
So Tony Golan gave it this run for as I call it a tweener between the Toorak and the 5 Diamonds. There was 2 weeks between runs, and so he gets the run in 2 weeks' time. He couldn't have asked for a better race shape for this to be its flat run win, and then rebound through the roof next start.
Yeah, and we know how capable this horse is, a plus 3.6, Ralphie. That's like this campaign, all horses running around Australia, that's like very strong, very strong.
All right, let's see what it does in 2 weeks' time. But in this week, it's probably the second biggest race day of the year now, because it's the Derby Day at Flemington and it's the Golden Eagle at Randwick, including a bit of different overseas form. We're still cheering Obama Boomerang for a couple of years back, Vid, so we're going to do both. There's a discount option as well, but if you want to get our preview podcast, go to my website, racetrackralphie.com.au, click through the links. There's an option for Flemington only, an option for Randwick only, and like I said, a 2-meeting discount. And of course, if you're existing daily sectionals customer, there is also audio-only top-up option, providing, of course, you are getting Vince's cutting-edge race speed profiles if you're an existing customer there. So hope you enjoyed the insights into the Cox Plate and into the features at Randwick. We're going to give a few little nuggets to our members, of course, but we will talk to you this time next week. Thanks for listening to Year Round Carnival.